Well, folks, we're now less than a week away from Mike Lindell's upcoming streamathon, I guess you could call it. And he isn't wasting any time. He is hyping that thing up, and he was able to hype it this week with an interview with Donald Trump that was just as bonkers as you would expect for an interview between these two. Well, conspiracy theorists is what they both are at this point. So take a look at Donald Trump talking with Mike Lindell about the alleged election fraud that cost him 2020. Here it is.
We know what happened.
Right.
You see it in the reports. You see it in everything. And also, they're guarding. They're so guarding it, they don't want to give the votes. They don't want to give the ballots. Mail-in ballots are a disaster. They basically use COVID-19 or the China virus to rig the election, and it's a shame.
Yep.
And I hope the Republicans get tougher. Mitch McConnell's a disaster. The guy's a disaster, the old crow. He should have never approved that. He should have never allowed. And it was very sad when Mike Pence gave those votes over, because when you have more votes than you have voters, when you have other things that are so wrong, and that was then. Now, since then, many other things have happened, which show that you were right and I was right, and people were right that were looking at it.
Right.
It's a very sad thing.
You know, one of the funniest things about that clip is the fact that Trump said COVID-19. They said, or the China virus. Like, he had to get in the little bit of racism, you know, because he accidentally called it by its real name. And then, of course, somehow Democrats use that to rig the election. Now, I am assuming, obviously, that he is talking about the use of mail-in ballots that, as far as we can tell, worked out pretty well, except, of course, for the Trump supporters, who we've also talked about that got busted getting mail-in ballots for their dead relatives and using that to vote for Donald Trump. So aside from those instances, mail-in voting was not fraud. And it certainly wasn't rigged, and COVID-19 definitely wasn't planned so that Democrats could steal the election. I absolutely love how competent the Democratic Party is in the eyes of the Republicans. I wish the Democratic Party were that competent, not so they could steal elections, but so they might actually be able to govern decently. I mean, look, let's be honest. The Democrats this year, they've done a couple good things, but the rest of it's been a bit of a train wreck. But if they were as competent as they are in the minds of these ridiculous folks here, then heck, we'd be living in a pretty awesome country right now, right? Another question I have is, why the hell was Donald Trump wearing a tuxedo? I mean, come on. You're talking to the pillow man, not the queen. No need to get that fancy to talk to the MyPillow guy. But, you know, you do you, I guess. I mean, I'm not here to critique anybody's fashion choices, you know, mostly because I look like this, so to each their own, you just seem a little overdressed for the occasion. And, as I mentioned earlier, Mike Lindell is getting ready for his Thanksgiving break streamathon, where he totally swears this time he's going to give us all that evidence that he didn't give us during his North Dakota summit, when he had told us then he was going to give us everything he had, and then he didn't. He showed some PowerPoints with just random numbers they pulled out of thin air on it, and I guess that was supposed to be the evidence. But nope, this upcoming one, is totally going to be about giving us the evidence, and it's definitely not just a ploy to sell more pillows. Of course, if you tune in, you get access to special promo codes to buy pillows. So, yeah, I don't think that's working out too well either. But here's the thing. Both of these men were sitting there, grown adults, Donald Trump, an elderly man, still believing in this fantasy that he somehow won the 2020 election. And as we know from the people who were closest to him and from his campaign itself, they knew in the immediate days following the election they lost. They admitted it to one another. Hell, they admitted it to Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani when they told them that all their claims of fraud were totally bogus. But Trump convinced himself, and I think Mike Lindell played a very large role in this, that the election was stolen. They just, unfortunately for them, haven't come up with any evidence to suggest that. Mike Lindell also says, by the way, that next week he is filing his lawsuit with the Supreme Court, and it'll leave them with two options. One, overturn the election and let Trump be the winner, or two, do a new election, which he thinks Trump would win immediately. So I don't know how seriously the Supreme Court's going to take it. I don't know if they're going to laugh to his face or wait till he files it and he's not there, and then laugh about him behind closed doors. But there's no constitutional mechanism that would allow for the Supreme Court to even rule that way. So it is what it is. Awesome interview with a couple of bonkers guys, and one of them, again, for some reason, dressed in a tuxedo. That's about as weird as you can get. But this is today's Republican Party, and this is what you get.